I didn't, they happened to be in my little case that I was carrying. It hasn't even been out
You never
yet.
know why
And
things
look
are
at-
in your purse, do you?
Yeah, and you never know what is going to happen in the universe, and that's kind of my talk. And I had to get older. I had to reach a certain age before all the things in my life came together. And I realized that I might actually be able to accomplish something. Because the being enough was a big thing. And I mean, I was a Gemini, so I did a lot of stuff. I mean, and I kept thinking that I have to do more, I have to do more. And not to brag, but I was president of New York High School in Brooklyn. I was first in my class in labor relations at Cornell. I worked my little butt off. And my father meant, well, he loved me, and I loved him. But it was always like, and now what are you going to do? So it was like, and after working for my dad, being a mom, then going back to theater, which was my love, and then being reunited with my high school buddy, that I wrote we had a thing called Sing, where you wrote songs and the classes competed, and we used to write the songs together, the theme, and we said, why do you think the world put us together again? And we said, we used to write songs. And her name was Sharon Spector in high school. And we started writing songs again, and we went out in the cabaret world, and people sang our songs. And it was just very exciting. And then I got also interested in how people look, because we had to go on stage and have a look. And I learned, and I realized that, and I could prove it to you, that every single one of you in this room is beautiful. Every human is beautiful. It sounds like, that talk, but it really is true, and I could see it when I learned how to look at each person. Because of the way the earth, which is a little tiny part of the world, developed, people were in different places, so their skin had different coloring depending where the sun was and what kind of food was in that, they could eat in that area at any time. And certain times people would say, we don't want to be like those dark people, but we don't want to. It's just, where a great-grandparent happened to be at a particular time when they were born. And I realized that we really are all the same humanity. And if you look at each person and get the shades of the colors that they would wear. This afternoon I'm going to do a color psychology class. That's not finding your particular shade. It's because everybody wears all the colors. It's which shades reflect who you are. That's individual. But each of the regular colors has a vibration. And through that, I learned that probably everything is vibration. Our voice is a vibration. We're a vibration. And when we say God speaks or God works, it's a vibration in the universe. And it took me to be about 60 when it all started, 55 to 60, when I started getting not very well. And I had severe osteoarthritis, and I walked with a cane, and my son had to help me down the subway steps, and I also then had a radical hysterectomy, which I learned later I may not have really needed. We're learning a lot, but at that time I listened to whatever the doctor said. I'm not making doctors wrong, but not all of them know everything yet, and we're learning, and new information is coming in, but I didn't know it, and I was really not well. And I met a spiritual coach through some event I went to at Unity, and she said, I don't get that you're supposed to be like this. I get there's some changes that you can make. And she's the one who taught me, I didn't even know I was going to say this today, but instead of asking, why is this happening, it's okay, what may have made this happen, and what can I do to change it, rather than why, when it's a what. It's a doable thing. And she said, read this book on blood type. And I went, yeah, right. So I read the book on Eat Right for Your Type, and it just kind of made sense. That's where I started. That was just my beginning. And I thought, oh yeah. And I was starting to drop some of the pounds I put on. I put on 40 pounds. And I said, I'm going to visit this doctor. He's in Connecticut. It's not that far. And I had an appointment with him. And I said, you look familiar. I don't know where I may have met you, if you ever spoke at my school, whatever. And he said, I don't think so. At that moment, his secretary comes in and said, oh, you just got the call. You're going to speak at Unity in Boston this week. I said, Unity in Boston? Oh, you know about Unity? He said, oh, I've been going to Unity for many years. He said, in fact, there's Unity in New York. I said, well, yes, I know. And he said, well, I spoke at Eric Butterworth's funeral. And I went, there's a Yiddish word, it's beshert. It means it's meant to be. And I thought, the universe put me in a place with a person that totally gets what I need and what I want. And that was just the start of it. And then he said things like, in your blood, I see you have osteoarthritis. This has nothing to do with blood type. And I said, I know, I'm on the cane and all this medicine. And he said, here, just don't eat these vegetables. Don't take the medicine for a month. I'm not telling you to never take it again, because I don't want to, cause trouble if this doesn't work. But just try not eating these vegetables. And I went, okay. And now we know that they're nightshade vegetables, but the word wasn't common at that point. And in a month, I felt a little better. 4 months. No pain, no medicine. It's like I never had it. And that got me thinking, something? What I can help people with is teaching them to, listen to the doctor, but then check it out. Do research, because we're learning. We're really learning. And it was just this year in May, that I had an experience. I wasn't going to bring this up at this point, but it just is coming, that changed my whole way of looking at the universe again. It seems that I wanted to get the dishes clean really quickly. So I had my hands under the hot water cleaning the dishes, and my skin wasn't burning or anything, and the hot water was going, and then all of a sudden I'm feeling in my hand. And I say, what'd you do? Oh, Barbara, what'd you do? And I turn off the hot water, and I look at my little hand, and I go, oh, little baby fingers, Mommy didn't want to hurt you. Mommy didn't want to hurt you. And I got that. I may be saying, I hope I'm not saying anything that goes against unity principle now. But I got that it's not only that God is in us. The truth is, we're in God. We're like the little cells in my fingers are to me. I'm God to those little cells. And our planet is probably like a little cell. And I realized I'm like a universe. I've got a heart, I've got a liver, I've got a stomach, and they're all like galaxies. And I've got cells in them like solar systems, and then protons and neurons that go around like the planets. And I got everything is the same as everything. It just gets larger and larger and larger. So now I really do feel God in me, and things have truly been changing. And now, when I look at the book that I wrote, and I wrote a book because I wanted to help people find what I found to get well. And I don't mean that they should do what I did, because we're all different. It's how they can ask questions, and how it can be fun. I actually had fun getting back into shape. I made it fun, because otherwise I knew I wouldn't do it. So what I had everybody do is do a minimum number of things every day according to what will help you to make it happen, and give a name to your plan that makes you giggle. And don't tell anybody else the name. And it kind of worked for me, and it started working. This is before I wrote the book, I did this. And it started working for the people. I was giving little seminars and things, and people would say, how'd you do it? How'd you get thin? Yeah, how'd you do it? And I gave the seminars, and then I had some relatives of someone in a seminar say, well, we want to learn how to do this too. How do we do this? And that's when I went home, and God said, write a book. So I wrote the book about it, and I'm so honored to have been at the Louise Hay I Can Do It thing, signing the book, and meeting wonderful people through this. There are so many God-centered people in this world, and we just, find them for now, because I really do see a day. I may be wrong, but I do see a day when every little cell on the planet, every human, will get it, and will know that they're God, and will be part of God. And what I also found in getting myself back into shape, and now after the little thing in my finger, seeing how God works, because I did heal it. I found ways to heal it, natural ways, that God is really organized to revise when things go off. Like with the Watt. I mean, I'm sure there may have been planets that whirred around or were out of, the right, whatever works orientation. And I think the universe works on it until they get better. That's, I'm sure, how blood types happen. The history, supposedly, of blood types, has anybody ever heard about how they develop? Or why they're here? I don't know how we could really prove it, because it's so long ago. But the theory is that everyone was blood type O when it started, and people were designed to eat animals. That's how it was. I feel for the animals, but that was their place. And then at some point the animals ran away, were able to get up the hills away, and the people were not equipped yet to go after them in through the trees and through all of that, and people were dying in droves. So a new blood type developed that could eat the chickens and the grains and the things around. It made sense to me, actually. And then we started to cook. And that changed things, to cook things. So type B, a new blood type came around. So I'm seeing how the universe works to make things work. And that's when I got, okay, so all these things that are in action that I think are going to make it that I can't fulfill my purpose on earth really aren't so. It's all working, wanting me to fulfill my purpose. Because I can't believe God, the universe, would want to have any cell in its creation not doing what's helpful and doing what God needs to have happen. So God's there for us. And that's when I realized that I really got what the thought pattern was. It hit me at that point. And that's why I wrote that song. That I'd been taking on thoughts that weren't real. And I had to realize that God wants me to succeed. Because if I don't succeed, if you don't succeed, if we don't succeed, boom. That's the end of the universe. And so I'm able now to go forth with things do I ever get a pit in my stomach? Yeah, it happens once in a while, but I can go back to that thought. God really needs me to do well and wants me to do well. And my parents wanted me to do well too, and my parents wanted to do well, and they did do well. But I know so many of us have this feeling that we're not enough. And when you get to look at people through the light I do when I'm doing the image stuff, and oh my God, you see the glow come out, and look at that style and that smile and the color of your hair compared, that gray, see how that's the perfect gray? And I do it by putting drapes across the person, you can see the differences. And oh yeah. And people go, oh yeah. And well, fashion happens because they need to sell clothes, so they need to change the fashion. I don't think they knew that when they started. We had to have something to wear, so people said, let's make it different each year. But it's not about fashion, because they have to, to sell stuff. But there are some places that I found that do understand and do go with you to make you be who you are. I know I sound like I'm doing 7 million things, so I still write the songs to bring this out. I find my gut is having me write slightly more what we would call spiritual songs these days than I used to when I was writing with my partner Spector, because we wrote mostly comedy songs. Although comedy can center us on what is really needed too. Because if you find the right thing to get, go, oh yeah, right. And well, is there anyone here who feels that they're on their right path and they know that? Christine? Mm-hmm. You
want me to tell you my path?
Yeah.
Oh.
Can I go off surprise?
Well, I believe my path is what brings me joy, and what I naturally have is a gift. I don't think it's for me to have, I'm not a color stylist because it doesn't bring me joy. Does it make sense? So I think that my passion is to sing, but my passion also is to I'm just so passionate about people knowing all of these tools. And it's so sad that, when you think spirituality, I know a lot of people, and I have someone in my life who goes, oh, spirituality is so not grounded. And I know that there's part of spirituality that isn't grounded, and I get that. But I really believe it's about anchoring all this knowledge into the earth and to speak it to everyone on this planet in a way that people will accept it. Yeah. Like for instance, I'm now studying neuroscience, and I'm realizing, and he talked about the brain in that song, and I'm like, all of this is neuroscience. I mean, if you really, I've been studying this stuff, and it is blowing me away. Everything that we talk about spirituality-wise is neuroscience. Yeah. And I can get this message across to the world through that, because that they'll accept, because then there's proof. So that's what I believe my passion is, because I would go, oh, this stuff is so amazing, but everyone kind of blows it off. So. Yeah. Anyway, I believe my purpose is to find out how we can talk about this and educate people through joy and song, but in a way that they will accept it. Nice. So, that's me.
Good going. There it is. She's right with me. Baby. Yeah. Just everything I found out is science. Yes. I never studied science in college. I thought, no, if you study English and that, you don't study science. But it's all science, because everything is really a vibration. And I don't know, we think that we're different, but we are also vibrating. And the vibrations come into us, and our brain is vibrating, and what we call God, this world, is vibrating and truly wants us to succeed. I mean, you know how I felt when I was asked to be a guest speaker here? I thought, what? I never spoke at a Unity church before. I mean, I've been going for many, many years, but I'm not a minister. I'm not, I haven't gone through that education. But then I thought, okay, Shawn must have seen something in me. By the way, I knew Shawn used to do my lighting at Don't Tell Mama in the 80s. And we knew him then. And he was a character. And he was great. And has everybody seen his show?
Yes.
Yeah, see it. I walked out of that show, and that shows that everything is vibration. I walked out of that show after laughing and laughing, but I felt like I had gotten one of the best talks, unity talks, I'd ever got. I was so enriched by it. And he used words in it that you're not supposed, And it's interesting to know that which words, are thought of as horrible, that describe an act that's terrible. But is it terrible? We wouldn't be here if it weren't for that. I mean, really. And we make up things of what is really terrible. And I think it may have started out terrible because if a person was unfaithful to their spouse, the children could die and the wife, they wouldn't be taken care of. So I think that had to be started. And if I can dare say this, I may be wrong, but I think there may have been a time, an era, where there was great overpopulation in certain areas with people around, and that's how homosexuality developed. It was needed. There was something needed to keep the population down, but still have love and still have people doing the other things. And it makes perfect sense to me that that's what would be there. Yet we look at things, because we get scared. Oh, we can't let them do that. And then I looked at religion. And we have on earth, at least, I only see one religion. They all emanated, that's why unity, unite, all emanated from the same place. There were needs, and they looked to something. And certainly Muslim, Judaism, and Christianity come from the same family. And there were changes made because there were fears that this one was getting that, or that one was getting this. And we're all from the same egg. I see that so clearly. And I have wonderful friends now who are Muslim, and of course friends who are Christian, and friends who are Jewish. I was lucky. I grew up in an Orthodox Jewish household, but my grandpa and my family were very questioning. So it wasn't like this da-dong, da-dong, da-dong. It was more like, okay, we did the thing. Why do you think we light the candles at this hour on Saturday and what? And so it was kind of open. So when I heard about Christianity and Jesus, I said, well, my God, he was Jewish anyway, and he was wonderful. And he never wasn't. And what a teacher. I want to follow what he taught. He's probably the best Jewish teacher I ever heard of, really. And then things break off because countries break off and things. And then the Muslim was from the same family. And I'm blessed to live near the UN. And I've befriended many people from the Middle Eastern countries. Very close. And when can I say this at Unity? Okay. I'm the second Seder lady, because my son is, likes the Seder. And I always give the second Seder, and I always have Christians, Muslims, and Jews at that Seder. And I would have whatever if I, could find other people to show it. And they all say, oh yeah, makes sense, it's all the same. And I got this when I was older. I didn't start doing that till I was in my 60s, close to 70. And now at 75, I'm really healthier than I've ever been. I'm having more fun than I've ever had. And I think I had to get here to be able to look back at things. And one of the things I do a show people probably know it, at the Metropolitan Room called It's Just a Number, where I honor someone over 50, they're usually 60, 70, some are 80, who are starting to do new things or brought back old things or continuing to do great things in their life, and people entertain them. Because we do have some ageism in the country, just like we used to not like people of different colors. I mean, it doesn't, it's because businesses are afraid of having to pay retirement benefits or something. So I think I would like to see that change so that everyone can be loved.